initial thought we'd come here and go straight there, and I spoke to Chuck. I said, does he want another run? And he said no, and we'll just a couple more schools. I'm so pleased the way the horse has done physically. He's growing and maturing, and made up for a couple of reverses earlier in the day.
And mentally, because at Huntingdon he pulled quite hard, but he seems to have applied himself much more conscientiously since then.
I mean, he's probably a bit gassy at Huntingdon, and I didn't think he'd be this good just at that stage of the season. And even Newbury, I mean, he ran very well behind Nicky's horse, and he's never stopped improving since. And he's starting to really excite me. He really is.
What about Blazing Bailey here? Headgear back on. Why did you leave them off the first couple of starts this season?
Well, I'm not sure how much effect they have on him. I mean, if you look at the time form and his handicap ratings, he's run pretty consistently all the way through. He didn't improve greatly to win it into a Punchestown before, last season. But I was going to leave them for the March meeting, and I thought, well, this is a grade 2, and for the prize money, I just might give me a pound or two. But it's not going to make any great difference. Handles the ground. He should have run very well. He's always been vulnerable to the top class horses, as you know, and I think Punchestown's probably top class. So,
what did you make of the run of House on Genelade earlier? Do you think that he got to the front and forgot how to win a race?
To be honest, I was hugely disappointed. I mean, I thought this was his day. I wasn't happy throughout the race at all. But when he jumped to the front at the second last, I thought, well, we'll win now. And I couldn't believe he got petted again. And I'm taking nothing away from Joe Lively, but I was very, very disappointed.
Well, we'll see what happens to him next time. Good luck with Blazing Bailey here, and well done with Walk On. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, interesting thoughts from Alan King, particularly about House on Genelade. Very disappointed with that, wasn't he? But he likes to Walk On a lot, and he's hoping that Blazing Bailey will provide him with another winner this afternoon. He's got a good chance, Blazing Bailey here, certainly each way anyway. There's Punchestown just going past him. Evens, the favourite, Punchestown's big buck 7-2, 6-1 about Blazing Bailey. Fairalong is 8, 16's Loch Derg, No Refuge 25s, 33's Petit Four and Turpin Green. A 66-1 shot at the moment. Just having a quick look at Punchestown's a magnificent looking horse, isn't he? He really is, and he's been very impressive to date in his 2 wins this season. At the exchanges, he's just a shade of odds against. It's 4-1 big bucks there. Fairalong's about 10s. Blazing Bailey's very solid indeed at 13-2. Plenty of support, and Loch Derg is the weak one out to 21-1. They're having the girth checked, and you're looking at the favourite, Punchestown's.
He is a serious looking animal. Jonathan Allen said he thought Punchestown's was probably top class, and I think what he meant by that was top class now and potentially a real superstar.
Yes, he is. But this is a proper test for him. He had heavy ground form in France, but as we know, that doesn't necessarily mean heavy. We know he stays 3 miles, but whether he'll stay 3 miles plus in heavy ground, we don't know yet. He's putting his reputation on the line here. I do hope he wins, but if you fancy opposing him with a well-backed Blazing Bailey or Big Bucks or Fairalong even, I wouldn't put you off, because it's still another step into the unknown.
And I think we can safely say that pace is going to be solid here.
Yes.
Even if they're a little bit more circumspect than otherwise they might be on horses like Fairalong and Loch Derg. You know that Tom Scudamore will be wanting to get stuck in at some point.
He will, and I imagine both Blazing Bailey, Robert Thornton and Barry Geraghty on Punchestown, they both steered a wide course this afternoon already, so expect to see them right down the outside as they're coming down the hill.
I sense that Big Bucks just had a little bit more in reserve than he was letting on last time.
Yeah, I thought he looked like he was ridden out, and that was the proper margin, but I thought he was quite impressive.
Yeah, likewise. What a fascinating race this is. It's the Cleeve hurdle. It will have, without doubt, whatever the result, a significant bearing on the market for the World Hurdle back here in 6.5 weeks' time. Punchestown enhance this already glittering reputation, garnered chiefly by 2 emphatic and fluent wins on better ground this season. Another string to his bow, perhaps. He's 11-10 on to make it a hat-trick for 2008-9. 7-2 Big Bucks, Blazing Bailey 6 and 8-1 Fair Along. It's 16 and bigger the remainder. It won't be long now for the most interesting race of the card, potentially. Here's Mike.
Thanks, Nick. I think, yeah, you're absolutely spot on with that. This is, for me, the most interesting. I thought Walk-On was very good in that previous race, though. He looks a real genuine contender for the triumph. Tough and very, very solid in that defeat of his old rival, Rev de Civilia. And it's been a wonderful day here at Cheltenham. It's absolutely jam-packed. Car parks are more than full. Beautiful, bright winter's afternoon and some fantastic jumping here. For you to rewind a bit later on and a chance to review and assess. And the debate continues right up until mid-March. Well, the runner's got the post in good time. Don't move yet from the starter to go across yet. I always think when there's a delay, Nick, there might well be some issue over the low sun here when they get days like today, but I'm not entirely sure there's a problem. I just think they wanted to get everybody ready, and now the starter is indeed walking across to call them in, albeit 2 or 3 minutes late. Punchestown's a shade of odds on here. There's Mervyn Smith, the starter. And any second now they'll be called in. Lining up then for this Byrne Group Cleeve hurdle. And they're off. Well, they're setting off at a bit of a dawdle here, which is a bit of a surprise as they head off down the hill at a moderate canter towards the first. Petit Four will land in front. He would have been a long price to have been there, because Loch Derg is buried away in the middle of the pack, and Fair Along is under restraint 2 in second place. The two horses that are likely to go head for head for the early pace. But it's Petit Four the leader. From Fair Along, white cap is Turpin Green on the inside, the white face of No Refuge, followed by Blazing Bailey as they go over the second flight. Loch Derg, Punchestown and Big Bucks at the back of the field, and moving on now towards the third. So the thought of Fair Along and Loch Derg having a real set two is not being fulfilled here, because they're going very steadily down towards the farthest point away from the stands, again left-handed shortly. Fair Along up the inside now, Petit Four, with No Refuge, Turpin Green, Loch Derg's red headgear behind them with Blazing Bailey's black headgear, and then Punchestown's in the blue colours at the back of the field. The nose-banded runner is Big Bucks and Ruby Walsh, giving the lead at 6th length start here as they go to the flight over on the far side of the course. Flight number 4, and jumping that with Fair Along on the inside of Petit Four. Probably Petit Four has the narrow advantage, however. From in third place, Turpin Green, No Refuge, Blazing Bailey, Punchestown's, Loch Derg and Big Bucks. And they barely got into a proper gallop here since they left the start, heading left-handed, wary of course that the ground is quite testing today. Just under 2 circuits of the hurdles track to cover in the 3-mile new course, and heading down towards the next flight. So Petit Four and Paddy Brennan from on the inside, Fair Along, and then comes Turpin Green in the Trevor Hemmings jacket. No Refuge with Blazing Bailey racing together. Up the inside is Punchestown and Loch Derg and Big Bucks at the back of the field, heading down the hill now towards the turn to the home straight. Fair Along moves up the inner. Petit Four content to stay over on the outside. Behind these then Turpin Green, then No Refuge, Loch Derg, red headgear, Blazing Bailey, Punchestown and Big Bucks. So the runner's now swinging the corner and heading up the hill. Fair Along is the overall leader now. He's taken over from Petit Four. Turpin Green racing together with Blazing Bailey, and No Refuge's white face just hidden on the inside. Loch Derg just tracking Fair Along there. Once again, this difference of opinion from the jocks where to race. Barry Geraghty on Punchestown staying with the main group on the outside of the course, with just behind him Ruby Walsh and Big Bucks. Here's the next flight. So Farallon touches down with a lead of about a length or so. Petit 4 behind him. That was flight number 6. Petit 4 now asserting again because they go up the hill. Turpin Green racing in 3rd place, just in front of No Refuge, with Blazing Bailey in close attendance. Loch Derg on the rail saves ground. Punchestown blue with the green hoop and Big Bucks. It's all to play for. Nothing much has happened yet, really. They've completed a circuit, and now they're heading down the hill to do it all over again. And only 4 to 5 lengths would cover the runners. All 8 of the runners travelling very comfortably. Good leap there by Farallon. He really did hurdle that one particularly athletically. On this outside is Petit 4. Blazing Bailey still there, and then comes Loch Derg, Turpin Green, No Refuge, with Punchestown's on the outside of Big Bucks. Heading down then towards the middle flight, number 8 in this grade 2 hurdle, the Burn Group Cleeve hurdle. Wasn't sure whether Punchestown's was all that good there. He just tracked Turpin Green. Jockey on Turpin Green, Brian Harding, just sitting a bit lower in the saddle for a few strides there. Over the next they'll go now. See how they jump that. Loch Derg hit that flight slightly, I thought. Again, Turpin Green off the bridle a little bit then as they reach the end of this part of the track. Go left-handed. Farallon, Petit 4. Blazing Bailey travelling smoothly on the outside of these. Then comes Loch Derg getting closer, just being niggled to do so. No Refuge is going nicely behind them and just moves up a little bit on the inside. Punchestown's is getting a little bit closer. No move yet from Ruby on Big Bucks as Loch Derg gets outpaced and is going to drop to last over that flight at the top of the hill. Loch Derg has really lost his posse there, very quickly coming under strong pressure, and not the same horse he was 7 days ago, that's for sure. So now the race begins in earnest, because they've jumped the 3rd last here. Long runs between the 2nd last and last flight though. Farallon the leader, Petit 4, Blazing Bailey poised, and then comes Punchestown's, who moves up menacingly on the outside of No Refuge. Stalked all the time, Punchestown's though, by Big Bucks and Ruby Walsh. And then Turpin Green is trying hard to maintain tabs on these leaders, and unfortunately Loch Derg just struggling a bit to try and get back at them, so they're heading and freewheeling down the hill now. It's Farallon in front, and of course he does particularly well at. He's the leader as they go to the 2nd last here. Comes up towards it, jumps it very fluently indeed. Punchestown's now moving up to challenge as Blazing Bailey comes under pressure. Petit 4 is there. Big Bucks is being pushed along now by Ruby. No Refuge looks beaten. Farallon is absolutely swinging as they come down the hill. So too Punchestown's, who now moves into a menacing looking 2nd place. Blazing Bailey and then Big Bucks, who's trying hard up the inside and starts to pick up, but it's Farallon the leader as they race up the hill now from Punchestown's in 2nd place. Punchestown's are giving £4 to Farallon. Big Bucks between horses with a sheepskin noseband. These two have kicked clear of the rest of them. Farallon up the inside. Punchestown's on the near side with his own private battle with Big Bucks. These three then separated by about half a length. They're coming up the hill to the final flight. Punchestown's, Big Bucks, the far side Farallon. Little choose between them. Here's the final flight now. A mistake by Farallon. Big Bucks touches down in front from Punchestown's and Farallon, and it's Big Bucks who's finishing off the best. Big Bucks driven out towards the line for the Stewart family and Ruby Walsh. Another one for Paul Nicholls, but Big Bucks takes the Burn Group Cleeve hurdle. From Punchestown's a gallant 2nd. Farallon was 3rd. Loch Derg flew home and grabbed 4th.
Well, the champion trainer has cleverly found a niche for this very talented horse, and he's on his way now to the Ladbrokes World Hurdle. 7-2, Big Bucks has taken the Cleeve, and he has just put the slightest of dents in the reputation of the mighty Punchestown's. Back in 3rd was Farallon. The big 3 coming to the fore and clearing away from a very solid performer in Blazing Bailey. All hail the new generation, Jonathan.
Yes, he was the only one that didn't figure in another pulsating Cheltenham finish. I mean, it's a dog's breakfast of a race, in effect. They went quicker than that, but only slightly. I mean, they just no gallop for 2 miles, and then it's become a tactical battle. But the 3 of the right 4 horses were the ones fighting it out, and I have to say, Big Bucks we both thought he was impressive when he won the handicap here last time. He stamped his seal on this after the last here. Again, you have to say that Punchestown's emerges at the weights as the best horse in the race, giving the winner £8, but it certainly opens a door. The Ladbrokes World Hurdle is not a signed, sealed and delivered for Punchestown's on this evidence.
I know which horse I'd rather be with at the moment for that race, and I think it's the horse that's won this, because yet again, Steve, it doesn't appear that he's doing a lot when he gets to the front.
No, the rider, I was going to be sarcastic and say rider Sam Thomas would have been proud of, and I don't mean to be that. But what I do actually mean is he kept that horse covered every moment he wanted to get cover. That's clearly the key to him. Even at the end, when he had a choice of two, he realised Punchestown was going to take him there. He's gone right across the race next to him. He's not done a thing on the running. He didn't do a thing on the running last time. He's idling. Now, I do think Punchestown's Achilles' heels was like we said at the beginning, 3 miles in very soft ground on a very stiff track. You come here on goodish ground or slightly quicker ground than this, he's still a major player at the festival, no question. We didn't see him maybe at his best, but this horse is a horse who keeps a bit for himself but is genuine, and if they can get cover for him, you see there, that is the key. That's what went wrong in the Hennessy. That's what people were annoyed about, that he came wide away from everything that day for the last 4 furlongs, and people said he did nothing wrong that day. He did do things wrong. Today, that was as good a waiting ride on a slightly awkward horse as you could wish to see, in my view.
Let's take it from the outset, and I think Paddy Brennan was amazed that nobody wanted to keep him company up front. He was looking around asking the question before the tapes went back, and Petit Four was there, and Richard Johnson was covering the move on Fair Along, who's run with great credit, and he's a worthy performer at the top level in staying hurdles now.
Absolutely, he is. He was giving £4 to the winner, getting £4 from the runner-up, so he's got something to find. But it's another wonderful run, and in the end it was Richard Johnson who decided it was time to put the pace to the race, because we all knew there was a guaranteed pacemaker, and there he is in 6th.
Loch Derg, who wasn't sent to the front today. Clearly Tom Scudamore felt maybe in hotter company he wanted to conserve the horse a little bit more, but it didn't work, and often with these horses that need to be ridden aggressively, a change in tactics has the adverse effect.
It's a bit like holding up dubious stayers in 12 lengths last and hope they stay more. It's a bit of an anomaly. It's interesting, the 3 hurdle races we've seen today have all had similarities in that they've been slightly muddling, with lots of horses around their 2 out, and the right horses have been drawn right away, from in adversity almost, despite things not being for them. And this is, I echo completely what Jonathan said. Whatever, dog's breakfast is a good way to sum the race up, but at the end, 3 very good informed horses have drawn right away. I mean, you have to be positive about the form. You can argue, what you like about what will happen at Cheltenham later on.
And albeit that the pace wasn't electric, Ruby Walsh had no choice but to sit and suffer at the back, because it's the only way to ride this horse. And the added bonus was that just in front of him was Barry Geraghty on Punchestown's, so he could quite happily stick the target on Punchestown's back and ride the race to beat the horse that was likeliest to pose the biggest threat.
And it's exactly what he's done. And I mean, it'd be interesting to see bookmaker reaction to this. And the first one from Boyle Sports, 9-4 from 7-4 Punchestown's, 9-2 big bucks from 12s. Well, if it's soft ground come the Thursday of the festival, then 9-2 would look very generous. Here's Hills, 7-2 big bucks, 3s Punchestown.
That's more like it.
7-2 big bucks for Stan James, 11-4 Punchestown. Yeah, there shouldn't be much between them in the betting, you would think.
If memory serves, Big Buck's best performance over fences was on fast ground at Aintree.
Yeah, it was. I think he is versatile, but I think it would. He's a thorough stayer, and I think soft ground probably plays to his strength. Certainly, better ground would suit the runner-up. I say, although he is drifting, although he's lost his air of invincibility this year, I don't think he's lost his chance of the World Hurdle, given him different conditions. I mean, this was always going to be a different test. He proved he stayed on soft ground when he won here. He proved he stayed 3 miles at Ascot. The combination of the two may be not absolutely ideal.
I've still got a suspicion in the back of my mind that the 170 plus figure that he posted at Ascot might be an aberration.
Yes, exactly. Ascot is the clue. I agree with you. He showed he was a definite mid-150s minimum after winning the handicap here with potential to be 160 plus. 170 did seem to be asking a lot of him, and I think both the winner and the runner-up have been inconvenienced by the way the race is run, and yet they've come out first and second.
This was the move when Walsh had to take quite rapid action to avoid the floundering Blazing Bailey and get up sides Punchestown.
In 95% of the races, I think probably the effects of jockeys can be overrated, but he's had to make a decision there, and he's, and he could have been wrong. Fairalong as a game horse, that might have stayed on and everyone would have, chastised him, but he's chosen to come right next to Punchestown to give the horse as much, if not cover, company as he could for as long. Can you see why? Because what he does now, he put his head up in the air a bit and idle. That's exactly what he did at the last meeting. People crabbed him there, said he wasn't finding much. I don't think he idled that day. He just is, when he gets to the front, he doesn't do much, but, it's not a bad trait. He's perfectly genuine until he hits the front, and he just, once he's in front, he just wants to hang about a bit.
Got an enormous engine, this horse.
He has. 5 to 1 Ladbrokes, best price. Big bucks. You can have 130 Punchestowns for the tote and 130 with them as well, Casbah Bliss, which I think is about the best price available for him. Fascinating race we got in store.
Blazing Bailey was disappointing, having been right there. Maybe it's just the wrong way round for him, this race. Fast run early part of the race and he'll be staying on. He was almost travelling too well early.
That's absolutely true, but listen to the betting. It's hard to, outside those three, to name the winner, isn't it? I know it's very obvious, but you feel that conditions are going to suit maybe the way you go, but they are three horses with, extremely sound claims, and you can take your pick about which way, but I think I want to see the conditions.
Just keep your eye in rear on Loch Derg, orange blinkers. You might have anticipated that he'd be tailed off by now, but albeit a long way behind the principals, he's done what Loch Derg always does and runs on, and I wonder now, having looked at it again, whether Tom Skew would rather have reverted to normal tactics.
Probably, but I imagine that was a preconceived plan, and whether that was knowing that he wasn't good enough to win, it was just an aim of picking up a couple of order of merit points. But I mean, if we assume that the winner of the World Hurdle is going to come out of one of the first two here and Casbah Bliss, if you're quick and pick your prices, you can virtually bet the three of them at 6 to 4 on, which is actually not bad.
There's pretty good value there. The winner won't come from outside those three.
Oh, I'd be happy enough with the 5 to 1 big bucks, I think. With the sponsors of that race, Ladbrokes for the World Hurdle. Ruby Walsh and Paul Nicholls, it was his nap of the day in the Racing Post. He's been proved spot on.
Brilliant from Ruby Walsh, absolutely brilliant. There he is, jumping the last between horses, and then he motivates big bucks, and this horse idles on the run in. He's flicking his ears backwards and forwards, looking at the crowd, looking at everything, and he's only just doing enough, but enough is plenty to see off Punchestown's and Fairalong as well. Okay, it was a slowly run race in the early stages, but this horse on the day was much the best. And some interesting prices available. He places these at 5 to 1 for the World Hurdle. He's 4 to 1 with Victor Chandler from 12's big bucks, and with Sky Bet he is 7 to 2 now. 7 to 2 at big bucks. Victor Chandler have pushed Punchestown's out to 5 to 2 from 2s, and Sky Bet have pushed him out to 5 to 2 as well from 7 to 4. He's 7 to 2 winner today by 4 lengths from Punchestown's. The odds on favourite Fairalong 8 to 1 back in third.
When you place your first bet with Sky Bet, we'll match it with a free bet up to £50, giving you even more reason to celebrate.